Hey, it's Greg Otten here with MaritimeGardening.com, and I'm going to do a garden planting video here. I've had a number of requests to talk people through this, and it was really windy the day I filmed this. In fact, the wind blew my camera over a number of times, so I decided to do this using the voiceover format. So people ask me how I store my garlic, how I store my sea garlic. I just stick it in a box and put it in my garage. I dry it out on a little rack. Actually, it's the door of a baby gate for a week, and then I stick it in a box. But today I'm going to be planting garlic that was provided to me by my sponsor, Bessie Seeds. I asked them to send me a bit of garlic because I was going to plant some on video, and they sent me 3 pounds. So I thought this would be a good opportunity, because if people have asked me this question, how much garlic is in a pound of garlic, because it's really not clear how much you get out of that, how many heads of garlic are in a pound of garlic, but also how much do you get out of that, because you don't plant the garlic heads, you plant the garlic cloves, so you got to break them out. So yeah, that's the way they send them to you in a cardboard little package like that. And there's the I guess they usually send you some magazine, some reading material, ideal for the bathroom magazine rack. That's where they go in my house anyway. So there's one bag, and or 1 pound, I guess. And in that bag, I think I found about nine heads of garlic, which, as I recall, that garden I'm standing next to there, kneeling next to, there was 9 in there. That garden is about 3 feet wide by 12 feet long, and planting each garlic about 6 inches apart. 2 of those bags, like 2 pounds of garlic, did that bed, and that was about, I think, 40. I can't remember exactly now, but I think that bed took about 88 garlic, from what I recall. So the first thing you got to do when you're going to plant garlic is separate the garlic cloves from the garlic heads, and you need to space them out. I mean, this is the way I do it anyway. I take the space where I'm going to be planting the garlic, and I just lay everything out where I think it should go. It just seems to make things, it seems like an extra step, but it makes them, when you're doing a large area like that, I find it just helps you stay organized and get the most out of the space. It can be a bit difficult getting the garlic open. If you notice, when I store mine, I have these long stems on them. It's just because it gives you something to. I found if you cup the head of the garlic in your hand and you wiggle the stem around, it sort of cracks it open and helps it come open. So some of these garlic, I mean, they do this for shipping, so everything's got to be small, right? So it makes sense. So some of these garlic have a bit of a stem on them, which makes it easier, and some of them don't. But I would try to resist the urge to use a knife to open them like I did, because it's kind of a, you did it again there, what are you doing, Greg? It's a good way to cut yourself, but also it's a good way to damage the cloves. I think I had to throw a couple cloves away because I sort of damaged it. If you're going to use a knife, use something really dull, like a butter knife, not a super sharp fishing knife like I was doing there. But anyway, that's just what I had there, and I was a bit. They were really tight, and I just couldn't get into them even with my hand. So anyway, you just continue on and find a place for everything to go. This is another good observation, something I've mentioned in my videos before about the spacing between your garden beds. You see how I'm kind of uncomfortable? I'm sort of, it's difficult. I mean, when you have a narrow path, when you have narrow paths between your gardens, what you do get is the most garden space out of the total area, right? You get the most out of that area. So that's good. But when you put these little, I mean, these rows might be 20 inches wide, or let's say, what would that be in metric? 50 centimeters or something like that. If that, maybe even less than that, maybe 45 centimeters. Anyway, it's a bit awkward to sort of twist your body into that space. So I mean, I can do it. I'm still spry enough to suffer through. This is a better, see how I'm sort of straddling the thing? You can only do this with a 3-foot bed. I couldn't do that with a 4-foot bed. I haven't got it in me. That's why I'm doing that. I guess that also speaks to the argument I make lots of times that the garden is a gym. Because even planting garlic, my legs are pretty sore the next day. That weekend, I think I planted close to 150 cloves of garlic went in the ground that week, or pretty close to that. And boy, I was feeling it on Monday, I'll tell you. So people ask when to plant garlic. Lots of people are asking me that on Facebook and other social media. At least where I live, Zone 6A in Nova Scotia, Canada, I start planting. I don't do it all in one go. I sort of do it, and I do a bit this weekend and a bit that weekend. I space it out over a period of time because that's just how I like to do things in the garden. I try to stick to a schedule, but at the same time, I do stuff when I feel like it. Because, like many of you, I got a regular job, and I got to do things according to a clock all day long in that job. So I don't want my weekends to be like that. So I just chip away at things, and I find you get about a month to get your garlic in. From about the middle of October till the middle of November is the timing that is the window of time you have to get garlic in. And it's also, good to stagger things. Just what if they were in too early? What if some of them went in too late? You don't exactly know. Every year, the fall is different every single year. You never really know what it's going to be like. So it's good to sort of hedge your bets and plant them at different times. That's 88. Yeah, I got 8. So 2 bags, and there was a couple left over. There's maybe one clove left over, or something like that, or a partial clove, something like that left over. So 2 bags, just shy of 2 bags. I got 88. So let's just say you get 45 garlic a bag. So with planting, it's a pretty simple process. Jam your hand in, stick the garlic in. I use my hand as a gauge, basically where my fingers meet the rest of the hand, the knuckles, basically knuckle deep. That's the depth, which is about 3 inches, whatever that is in metric, 10 centimeters, give or take. But as a simple rule of thumb, just jam your hand in till your knuckles are at ground level, move the ground aside, stick the garlic in. And the only thing you got to remember is to orient the garlic so that the pointy part is pointing up and the flat part is pointing down. You think about a bulb, right? There's a bottom and a top, so you just make sure the cloves are in the same orientation. And it's not absolutely essential, but if you want a nice shape and you want it to grow properly and you want to give the garlic the best chance to be the best it can possibly be, that's the way you plant them, because that's the way they like to be planted. And then you just smooth the soil over the top. So then I just planted the rest of them in the ground. So for those thinking about the money aspect, what does this cost, what do I get back? And I encourage anyone to think that way. If you listen to my podcast and watch my videos, I'm not obsessed with that sort of thing, but it's something that's always on my mind. I always say you should get more out of your garden than you put in, right? You should always get more back than you put in. If you're not getting more back than you put in, you're doing it wrong. I'm just showing you here the direction that the garlic clove needs to be planted in, right? Pointy part up, other part down. Anyway, you should get more out of your garden than you put in, always. And monetarily, the value of the food that you get should be greater than the cost of the inputs that you put in. And the more you can make it work that way, I think, I find it extraordinarily rewarding to get that sort of return. And I mean, the best way to get a great return on something like garlic is to save your own garlic. And save the garlic seed and replant them, of course, because you're not even paying for the input. But at some point you got to get started, and you got to buy a lot of garlic to get started. But let's just look at what I'm planting here. So if I was to purchase these garlic, I'm using 2 bags of garlic. There's a couple left over, I think, when I'm done. But I'm using 2 bags of garlic. And what does it cost for a bag of garlic? It costs, 1 bag of garlic is 1 pound of garlic, and it costs, I think they're on sale right now, this particular variety, music garlic, $14, right? $13.99, I think. $14 to buy on sale right now, October 2018, Bessie Seeds. So I spend $14 and I get 9 heads of garlic. and I put those in the ground. When you break the heads up, you get, based on my counting here, around 44 cloves from 9 heads of garlic. So you get 44 cloves, and next year when I harvest, I'm going to get 44 heads of garlic. In addition, which you can't buy in a store, I'm going to get the garlic scapes, which is basically a garlic source that you can use before the cloves are available. So you sort of get 2 different kinds of garlic when you grow them this way. So it's a great crop to plant. But putting aside the wonderful garlic scapes, I'm still eating my pickled garlic scapes. And I made a ridiculous amount of pesto from those garlic scapes as well, so it's just a great thing to have. But putting all of that aside, let's just set the value of that aside and just focus on the value of the actual garlic you get back. $14 in, you get 44 heads of garlic around August next year. What does that work out to as a price per garlic? Well, if you work that out, 44 divided by $14, it's 31 cents a garlic. You can't buy garlic that cheap, right? Even if you buy the Chinese garlic, I think you can get about 3 for $1.25 or something like that, but they're nowhere near the quality of these, the size of these, and they're certainly not organic, right? So I mean, there's no argument, right? It's just good value. And if you can put some aside for seed and plant them the following year, you get even more back. So there's really there's no downside to planting your own garlic, and it's so easy to grow. Right? Once you get the garlic in the ground, and this is all, I mean, what I'm showing you here in this video is all I do to plant my garlic. The next step after what I'm showing you right here in October is to harvest them next year. So the next step is to just put some kind of mulch over them. The mulch feeds the soil, feeds the organisms in the soil. It keeps that whole beautiful food soil web going. It provides constant moisture in the garden, so the soil and everything in it and the roots of the plants and all those things are content, and you're giving everything just the right amount without having to set up any sort of irrigation system or anything, right? Just by putting mulch on it. Feeds the soil and also protects the bulbs to some extent, right? It mitigates the extreme temperatures. If you've got a particularly cold day or whatever, right? It keeps the garden beds that are mulched don't freeze up quite. I mean, everything freezes here unless you put an insane amount of mulch on, but they don't quite freeze up quite as intensely as the ones that aren't mulched. So I basically mulch every bed in my garden, whether there's something growing there or not. And this mulch here is just leftover pea vines, leftover bean vines, grass clippings from my lawn. I think there's some old potato plants in there. It's just basically rubbish, right? Organic rubbish that was kicking around, whatever you can find. And you can go 6 inches high, and the garlic will have no problem finding its way through that. You can use spoiled hay, you can use straw, you can use leaves as long as they're not too big. If they're really big sized leaves, run over them with a lawnmower. But the garlic, because they have that sort of pointy spear shape, I have found they have really no problem finding their way up through a good mulch. And that mulch will do wonders to suppress weeds. The adjacent garden, the one to the right of where I am from your point of view, right? If you're staring at the screen, the one on the right was all garlic last year, and I didn't have to do any weeding at all, right? So all I'm doing right now, middle of October 2018, this is all I'm going to do to that bed, and at some point in the summer, July-ish, I'm going to get garlic scapes, and once the garlic scapes appear or become available in my garden, I stop buying garlic, right? My goal, and I might re-hit it this year because I'm going to plant about 300 garlic, is to not to have to buy any garlic for an entire year. Last year I grew about 120 garlic and I ran out in February. Anyway, that's how we do it. I still got a pound left that I got to plant. Maybe I'll do another video on that from a different sort of point of view. I still got lots of my own garlic to plant as well, so plenty of work to do. So I hope you found that interesting and it gave you some good ideas, and if it did, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my podcast, maritimegardening.com. And until next time, get out there, get at it, and have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.